Is Airbnb still profitable in 2025? You may have stumbled here because you are wondering if it is even worth doing Airbnb nowadays. You may have heard there is more competition than ever. You might be feeling that yourself. Or maybe you've seen negative headlines or social media posts about the Airbnb bust. You've heard about people selling their properties. However, you are still here. Maybe you want to get into the game, but you want to make sure you're doing it the right way. Maybe you have properties and you want them to be doing better, or you are interested in scaling furthermore with different strategies. Well, you are in the right place. I'm going to give you the full guide on what you need to do to succeed on Airbnb in 2025. So if you stick with me and watch this full video, you will not need any others. So you might be wondering, who is this guy? My name is Jeremy Worden and I've done over $4 million in Airbnb revenue. This year, 2025, I should do about $1.5 million. I've went from managing properties from others to renting them from landlords to buying them for myself. I've done every Airbnb strategy, even glamping, where I have a camper that I rent out on Airbnb. This ain't any camper, it's an Airstream. If you know, you know. I've done small houses, big houses, apartments. I've done pretty much every property type, unique experiences. I've done it all. I've largely succeeded, but in some instances, I have failed, and I don't want you to fail. So I'm gonna share with you everything that I have learned to ensure you have the highest likelihood of probability of succeeding today and moving forward. So first of all, why do some fail? I'm gonna give you two reasons. First, they think Airbnb is just real estate, and in that sense that it is purely a passive business. They get into the game for passive income. While for me at this point with a 7-figure revenue portfolio, it is mostly passive because I've built out systems. I have 3 team members, virtual assistants, and I have local project managers, cleaners, handymen. However, it wasn't always this way, and it shouldn't be this way for anybody who's getting started. So those who fail think it's going to be passive and don't commit themselves to this process. They don't care about following this process that I'm going to share with you. Second, they don't create a business to accomplish a specific goal. Now, what do I mean by that? There are so many Airbnb strategies, so many different types of properties. Some are better suited for certain people, depending on what their strategy is. They don't create a business plan specific to their goal. They just get into it. They don't really know why. They maybe heard something online. They put their foot on the pedal, but they don't know where they're driving. So I ask you today, I want you to be as specific with me as possible as to what is your goal. Is it cash flow or monthly income? Is it to retire early? Is it to quit your job? If so, how much monthly cash flow do you need to quit your job? Once you hit that monthly cash flow, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna put in your 2 weeks notice? Are you gonna buy a flight halfway across the world? Are you going to keep scaling? Are you gonna come hang out with myself and friends at some short-term rental or real estate conferences and events? You choose to go live on a beach. Do you wanna keep growing the business or do you want it to just sustain? Are you looking to take that income and invest it into buying properties to build the highest cash flow possible type of real estate and generational wealth for your family? Either way, there is something here for everyone. If so, this game is for you too. But you need to be specific with yourself as to what your goal is because there are unique strategies and ways to accomplish them. For me, this was my goal. At the highest level, I wanted freedom, and you should too. I wanted to get to $10,000 a month of cash flow within a year so I could quit my job. And when I say freedom, what does that mean? Well, for me, it was freedom to do what I wanted with my time. I did a few months of the whole, go live on the beach thing. Wasn't for me. I wanted to be able to come back to New York and not only afford to live here, but be able to build something real with team members and go after entrepreneurial goals. However, to do that, it was simple. I needed $10,000 a month of cash flow. That wasn't me getting up each day and biking over to my 9 to 5. It was something that I could do from anywhere. That was my near-term 1-year goal. After that, I wanted to build true long-term wealth. Admittedly, at first, I didn't even think about tax benefits. That is a reason why a lot of people get into real estate. But admittedly, that wasn't something I even cared about back then. However, as my situation changed and my income went up, I started thinking about the taxes as I saw that money coming out of my bank account, and you will too, trust me. So eventually I started buying properties. At first, I raised money from investors, and then after a couple years, I had the tax returns, I had the credit, I was able to do it myself. However, my initial path of getting to that $10,000 a month was to manage properties for homeowners. Initially, I did this in tandem with a boat rental offering. Pretty random, right? But eventually, I learned the houses themselves were a lot easier and more scalable. Once I noticed that, I went all in on co-hosting. So I had this goal in 2020 and quit my job a year later in 2021. 2021, I started buying properties. I could not actually do it for myself. I was 24 years old at the time, barely even had a credit card. I would buy properties with investors developers, where I would then manage the properties for them as well. So the management fees helped further scale my income, and then the equity helped build long-term wealth. In 2021, I also started renting and re-renting properties on Airbnb. This is known as Airbnb arbitrage. Many think of this as a scalable business model. Honestly, online, a lot of people really make it look to be a get-rich-quick situation, but I'm gonna say this is probably the riskiest short-term rental business model that exists. The reason why it's quickly scalable is because you can rent out a bunch of different properties, 10 apartments at the same time, and then put all the furniture on a credit card, and then hope to pay back the credit card as soon as possible and further scale the business. I did that. I would put $40,000, $50,000 on credit cards, and then have a 1 year 0% APR period, meaning I didn't have to actually pay back the credit card for a year. So I would hope to pay it back 6 to 8 months. Unfortunately, I didn't have issues. For the most part, I succeeded. However, definitely a good bit of stress that went along with that business model. I also bought a camper to rent on Airbnb. I wanted to get into glamping so I could one day do glamping resorts like Under the Canvas. Over the last several years, I have signed and lost co-host clients, signed and terminated leases, and bought and sold houses. I've done this all, so now I'm gonna share with you what I think you should do and what I would do if I was starting over today. So, what is your goal? Do you wanna make as much as you can as quickly as possible? Maybe gets rich quick? Do you want long-term generational wealth and tax benefits? Or do you want true time and location freedom? You should want freedom. That is the first step. Once you have freedom, you can go for things that give you the potential to make millions of dollars. Once I freed up my time, I built a software and media company. This wouldn't be possible if I was stressed out for money every minute. With your first couple of properties, you should replace your 9-to-5 income if you're currently working a job. That's step number one, and it should be the main focus of building your Airbnb business, at least at the beginning. Replace that 9-to-5 income and eventually hire virtual assistants and buy back your time. You will buy back your time. So now you have a very specific goal. You know you need to put in the work, and I know you're telling yourself you need to sacrifice. So, question, what should you be willing to sacrifice? Do you need to move? You can do this remotely. I'm here in New York City. My properties are minimum 500 miles away. Happy to share in another video about how to automate your business. If you're looking for that, comment, subscribe. I'll get that for you. But here, we're gonna talk about what you need to do at first. So you need to commit yourself, your time, and your energy to succeeding. No doom scrolling on social media. Do you need to go to the bar tonight with friends? Drinking is going to kill your productivity tomorrow. Do you need to allocate 20 hours a day? No. However, consistency is key. So be true to yourself. How much time are you gonna put in? And do what you say. So let's say your goal is to get to $10,000 a month of cash flow in 2025. I'm going to first chart the way to get there that is the least risk and the way that I would take. This is also where I personally believe there is the most business opportunity in 2025. If you follow what I say, you will be able to get to $10,000 a month by the end of the year. If I was starting today in this environment and to get to $10,000 a month, I would do this by co-hosting. For instance, I just bought a house last week and I'm under contract on another. These properties will be absolute mega properties, and I have a framework for buying that I will share more on soon, so make sure to subscribe for that. In 2025, I am less eager and actually winding down a good chunk of my arbitrage portfolio. I will share more on that too. So why is there opportunity specifically in co-hosting? First of all, supply of short-term rentals is at an all-time high. A lot of people bought properties during COVID outside of the cities and now have had to move back and have started renting out their homes. There's also an all-time high in the number of second homes in the United States. 5.7 million. In addition, there are 20 million investment properties. Some people bought vacation rentals as investment properties and aren't willing to do what it takes to make it a business. There's also a lot of people out there that we've seen that actually own like 10 homes, and they're open to different ideas of what they could do with their properties. They just don't want to put in the work themselves to operate them on a day-to-day basis. And for a lot of these folk, they've already made their money and they're old. The gray tsunami is coming. There are millions and millions and millions of properties out there. You don't need to manage millions. You need to manage 5 to 10 of them to get to $10,000 a month. So let's do some simple math. To get to $1,000 a month with a 20% management fee, you need to be managing a home that makes about $60,000 a year revenue or $5,000 a month. Co-hosts get paid by taking a percentage of the revenue that the property brings in. So a 20% co-host fee, which is pretty industry standard or even low in some instances, would be 1/5 of that $60,000 or $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month. The average home in my portfolio makes about $100,000 a year. So $60,000 is pretty common for a house. That gives you $1,000 a month of co-host fee. So if you get to 5 houses, that's $5,000 a month. 10 houses, that's $60,000 of revenue a year. is $10,000 a month. Once I get to about 5 properties, I'm gonna niche in and focus on higher end homes. So for example, this property I am a 25% owner of should pull in about $250,000 this year in revenue. My mentee, who is a partner on this property, has already hit $1 million of bookings this year, and it's only January, and he's done this with 7 properties. So if you had those 5 properties that are making you $1,000 a month, a 20% management fee on a home making $250,000 a year is an additional $50,000 a year, about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. So between this and the 5 properties you already have, you're gonna be at about that $10,000 a month goal. So do you think that this sounds too good to be true or unrealistic? That you wonder, why would anyone allow you to manage their home when you have no history or track record? Well, the best reason is because your competition and the big guys suck. Vacasa, for instance, the biggest property manager, went from 0 to 40,000 properties under management in just over 10 years. You don't need tens of thousands of homes to hit $10,000 a month in cash flow. For example, Kyle, my mentee and business partner I talked about earlier, should do about $3 million in revenue with 8 homes. Thomas went from 0 to $550,000 in revenue in 2024 at 24 years old. This year, at 25, he should do over $1 million in revenue and maybe multi-6-figure in co-host fees. So Thomas, for example, got there a lot quicker than I did. Kyle did as well. He's actually taking my buying framework to an entirely new level. Again, I'm gonna be sharing more on buying separately, so make sure to subscribe for that. Guys like Thomas at 24 who quit his job at Domino's, or Ryan at 26 who quit his sales job, now has 15 properties under management. Thomas focuses on massive high-end luxury properties in the DC metro. Ryan has operations in Florida, North Carolina, and upstate New York, and he manages these properties from Montreal while also traveling the world. Matt and Lori manage properties in South Florida from Toronto, Canada. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna just pick one of my properties and I'm gonna see how much you could make managing it for me. I'm going into my property management software and I will see how much I pulled in. I'm gonna go all time. So what I have up here is my all-time revenue. I have this filtered by my properties that I have synced on Hospitable, my property management software. So we see over $4 million in revenue. I'm on my pricing tool, which is Price Labs, and I'm having the properties where my sync is on, which means they are currently active properties in the portfolio. And you can see, I mean, this is mid-January as of filming this, already done 40,000. And then if I go last year, it's 1.12 mil. You can see my breakdown year to year. So July of 2024 did 166,000 in revenue. And if I compare that to 2021, it was 72,000, so over 2 times as much. This does not go back to 2020, but 2020 is where I started. It only goes back 5 years, but really built it from scratch in 2020, hitting 7-figure for the first time in 2023, and then exceeding it 2024. I do have a couple properties that I've sold, so they're no longer synced, so these numbers should actually even be higher. So this right here is one of my properties. We've got a pool in the backyard. Nothing crazy, even this easy amenities, ping pong, chess, nothing too expensive. Brought the chess outside as well. But you're wondering, how much does this property make? This property has made $231,000 all time. Last year, this property did $166,000. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a co-host analysis of the property and see how much you can make. We're gonna use BNBCalc, so I'm gonna do a co-host analysis of this property. So here, this estimates as this is an average property, but I'm actually one of the top properties in the market. So my numbers, as you can see, if I go here, I'm doing $772 average daily rate with a 65% occupancy. So let's go 775, not bad. So what I'm now calculating is what is the co-host commission on 187,000. Well, if you're taking a 20% management fee, which is pretty common, that brings you to $3,067. With this particular property, I can actually take a lower management fee. I'm not going to share a property with you where I have a client. This one, I'm a 50% equity partner, and my 12% management fee, which is on top of my equity portion, is coming out to about $2,000 or $1,800 a month. So I just showed you the numbers on one property. Again, one that makes $60,000 a year, can make you $1,000 a month. A lot more are going to be like 60,000 and 200, but I just want to give you an actual example. So how do I get clients? Well, I'm going to give you the easiest way. The lowest hanging fruit is someone who already pays an existing property manager or co-host. These property managers are probably doing a terrible job. You can just look at their reviews on Airbnb and see how bad they are. There are millions and millions of Airbnbs, and guys, it's not a closed book. They are literally all on Airbnb. So in the US, everything is pretty much public information. You can find the properties, you can see their reviews, you can see when property managers are doing a bad job. And then sites like PropWire, True People Search, you can find out who is the owner and how to contact them. Do you want to fast track it and find people who own a bunch of properties? Well, you can also filter down on PropWire, for example, and search in particular markets for people who own single family homes and own a lot of them. I know some people, for example, who manage 10 properties with the same client. Some people send postcards, others friend them on Facebook, and some by carrier pigeon. But there are a bunch of ways in 2025 where you can reach out and get in contact with the owner. And once you get in touch, you can be honest. You have a beautiful property. I would love the opportunity to manage it. I will give your property my heart, soul, and undivided attention. Maybe they're currently managed by one of the big guys. A manager with 40,000 properties is not going to give them as much heart and soul as you are. But there are 9 different ways to get co-host clients. Give me some comments. I'm happy to share more of them with you if they're of interest. But you now know what is possible. Hopefully your eyes have been open. And guys, trust me, there are people out there who need your service. And once you go on Airbnb and you start looking at these reviews, you start looking at the hosting profiles, you'll see, wow, those people that have hundreds and hundreds of properties under management, their reviews are bad. Because yeah, it is hard to manage thousands of properties. But guys, it is easy to manage dozens. So you're going to reach out to the owner and you're going to present yourself as an alternative. And really, you just need the owner to know and understand 2 things. 1, you care about them and you care about their property. And 2, you are an expert. So the first part's from the heart, but how do you show the second, that you are an expert? Well, first, you can show them that you have an intimate understanding of their competitors on Airbnb. You can use BNBCalc and run a co-host analysis to show them how the property can perform, how much they can make, how the fee structure works, and show them the estimates of some of their competitors. You can give them recommendations on how to improve their property. You can say, hey, your property is so stunning and beautiful, but the photos don't really highlight that. We would get new photos and we would try to capture the moments that are going to stand out to guests. And guys, the first 5 photos on an Airbnb listing are everything. You can also just listen to them and hear their pain points. My local property manager, who I've worked with for years, got acquired by one of the big guys, and the big guys suck. They don't respond to my emails. Whenever I go to the house, like the once a year I visit, the cleaning conditions are terrible. It just seems like they don't even care. Maybe these homeowners used to make more money in 2020, 2021 before things got competitive, and now it's not looking so good. So the first thing you want to do is compliment their property and disarm them. You can look and educate them on their reviews. Just ask them, would you book your own property if your reviews looked like this? And they're gonna say, yeah, probably not. You have a good point. But guys, liking and trusting you is the most important thing. So you've built a rapport with them, maybe a couple calls with them, you give them your offer, and maybe they say, you know what, I like you. For now, we're gonna stick with what we have, but maybe we'll reach out when the time is right. Guys, that is not a no. That just means they're now in your pipeline. You're gonna build your pipeline over time. You're gonna stay in communication with these owners. You're gonna reach out and say, happy holidays. You're gonna say, hey, how's everything going? And when the time is right, and guys, there always is a right time, they will reach out to you to use your service. So first, reaching out to homeowners is known as outbound. There's ways to supercharge your outbound strategies. You can use a CRM where you can send off, hundreds and hundreds of texts. You can mass send out postcards, all this jazz. If you're consistent with outreach, you will find a homeowner who needs your help and you will start managing their property for them. So in a few weeks of consistent work, you get your first client. Maybe this client has one property in upstate New York, and with your help, it starts making $100,000 a year. With your 20% co-host fee, that's about $2,000 a month. You get every single one of those guests to leave you a 5-star review, not just on Airbnb, but on your upstate New York Google business account. So now when people search property manager in upstate New York or Airbnb co-host, you show up and you look credible. They go to your website and reach out to you. This is known as an inbound strategy. So we just talked about outbound, where you reached out to the homeowner. Now we're talking about them reaching out to you. inbound. For example, Thomas has gotten 4 clients in the past 2 weeks using Airbnb's experienced co-hosting platform. He actually led the way and helped us figure out how you optimize for this channel. If you want info on that, leave me a comment. Happy to share what I know. So simple things: get a Google business account. Every time you get a 5-star review, you automate it so it copies the Airbnb review and then transfers it over to your Google business account. So after your first client you get through outbound, a couple months later, you start getting inquiries for inbound. In addition, you've been getting inquiries inbound and you picked up a 4th. So these 4 properties together are making about $30,000 a month, $7,500 each. So that $30,000, your 20% management fee is $6,000 a month. You now shift your focus to target higher end properties that can make $150,000 a year. You lock down 2 of these bad boys and pretty much double your business overnight. You're now with 6 properties at $600,000 a year of revenue. Your 20% fee on that $600,000 of revenue is $120,000 a year, or $10,000 a month. Congratulations, you've now hit your goal. So to this point, you've done everything yourself. You've now hit your goal, but it's not as easy as it was with 1 property. This is natural. It's still pretty easy, but it doesn't feel entirely like freedom. It's been manageable. You use a property management software like I use Hospitable. You have pricing automation with tools like Price Labs or Wheelhouse. Maybe you use AI messaging assistants like HostBuddy AI. Your cleaner is synced to your calendar. You have a Rolodex of handyman, electricians, plumbers to take care of the things and allow you to do this from your laptop across the world. But now it is time to take your automation to the next level. You hire ex-Airbnb virtual assistants from the Philippines. Why the Philippines? Because that is where a lot of the Airbnb call center employees actually work. And they don't get paid very well. So a lot of times they're looking on sites like Online Jobs, PH, for virtual assistant, guest communication, and operations roles like the one you're gonna put out a job application for. So you put out this application on Online Jobs, you make it thorough, you explain your company values, and you have hundreds of people reaching out wanting to work for you and your company. You interview the 20 with the best applications, you then boil it down to the 2 or 3 that you think are rock stars, and then you pick the one that's going to help you further scale your business. They are now in charge of guest communication and property operations. They communicate with your cleaners, submit claims, and just do any of the miscellaneous tasks that you don't want to do on a daily basis. You pay them $1,000 a month. That is equivalent to 1 more property making $60,000 a year. So you add 1 property to your portfolio, and now you've just freed up 95% of your time through your virtual assistant. All right. I've walked you through how to find clients, how to reach out to them, how are you going to pitch them, and then how you automate your business. Have I missed something? Oh, where should you look? Well, this is the information that I tell everybody. My recommendation for location is twofold. A, you can pick the area that's closest to you where there's a decent amount of rentals. Having scale in a specific market is super advantageous. It just makes your life a lot easier. Also, it's bonus points if early on you can actually go meet owners in person. If not a market local to you, my recommendation is just pick a market where there are a lot of properties. Why is that? Well, if you actually do fly in and want to see the homes and schedule meetings, you can have a lot of meetings with a lot of owners at the same time. For example, Kissimmee, Florida is an amazing market. Not only are there so many short-term rental properties there, a lot of times you have owners who live literally across the country or even across the world. So they don't see you as someone who is remote as an issue because they're not there either. And if they ask you, are you local? You can say, yeah, we have local team members. And that usually disarms them and is the truth, because what I tell them is if they ever press on me, they say, hey, we know you're in New York. I say, look, do you want me fixing your toilet? Or do you want me on the computer marketing your property, figuring out the best possible prices and getting it booked? And they usually go, you have a good point. So being remote is not an issue. If anything, it is a strength, allowing you to focus on what you can do best. Okay, so you now know how much these properties can make. You know which markets to target. You know inbound and outbound strategies to find clients. You know the basics of automation softwares. You know that you can hire a virtual assistant to buy back your time. Guys, I'm gonna give you a warning. There's a lot of BS out there. People are gonna tell you to invest tens of thousands of dollars into Airbnb arbitrage. They're gonna tell you to put all the furniture and rent on a credit card and pay it back later, or to liquidate your 401k and buy a place. So I just gave you a way through co-hosting to build a business that creates cash flow, time, and location freedom, and is risk-free. If you want to see more of this, hit that subscribe button, like this video, comment any questions you have. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.